Welcome to the 323 podcast, where we look at how faith and work intersect. Each week, we talk to business leaders and difference makers about honoring God in the way we lead, create, and serve, because in everything we do, our work can reflect the one we serve. Statistics say that nearly 90% of family businesses don't make it past the third generation. My guests today are leaning into Philippians 4:13 and believing that all things are possible through Jesus Christ. Casa Auto Group began in 1969 under Wally Lowenfield. And today, 3 of Wally's grandsons, Justin, Luke, and Ronnie, are carrying that legacy forward with the same spirit of service, faith, and deep care for people. This story spans 3 generations, includes pastors, entrepreneurs, servant leaders, and even a grandmother who named Casa because she wanted employees to feel at home. In the past decade, my guests have led Casa through significant growth, including new dealerships, new cities, and new opportunities, while staying rooted in strong communication, daily rhythms of connection, and transparent leadership. Luke and Justin Lowenfield, welcome to the 323 podcast.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
So let's start by talking about your family history and relationships. Justin, let's start with you. Tell me about your grandfather, Wally. What are some iconic memories of him?
So, Grandpa, it's one of those things that he was only 5'3".
Oh, wow.
5'4", pretty short gentleman, but he always carried such a presence about him whenever he walked into a room. And so that's one of my fondest memories for sure is seeing him walk into a room, and you think about this man physically in stature, being short and small and stuff, but his presence was so powerful. And you could tell that the room responded to it and responded to the energy that he had and how much he cared for the people that were in the room. He was always a phenomenal listener, asked great questions, which we've learned throughout our journey. John Maxwell always says, you ask great questions, you have great conversations. And so he was just one of those individuals, and he was so consistent. I think that was another thing that just really impacted me, especially whenever I moved back and I got to see him on a daily basis working at the store, going up to his office. He was just so consistent. So you always knew what you were going to get. There was very little inconsistencies in his mannerisms, in his walk, especially with the Lord. And like I shared with you the first time around, he always believed that the owner's manual for life was the Bible. And so just like a car manual that you have in your vehicle to make sure you can keep it updated and you follow the service patterns and everything that you need to do with your car, he always walked through life knowing that the owner's manual in life was the Bible. And he had that on his desk, and so that's why it's such an important thing for us to even recognize today in our walk and what we do every single day, to have that presence, that reminder on our own desks. Those are some of the things that really stood out to me with him.
And this is Luke sharing. One of my favorite memories of him is from that solid foundation that he had of routines and consistency. He was able to really launch out and chase his dreams, which was to get into the car business. And so he was a real risk taker. He was, one of my favorite stories that he shared with me was in the early 70s when Bob Hoyt called him and said, Wally, I'm thinking about getting out of the law field and into the car business. Should I do it? And Wally's response was, it's the greatest business in the world. You can make $100,000 one month and lose it all the next month. And as a businessman, that thrill of the roller coaster of betting big and winning big and losing big was something that he really thrived on. And became an investor in a variety of dealerships from East Texas all the way to Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
And in a variety of industries. And so he was a really interesting man from that perspective, too, that he had this solid foundation, but a willingness to go on the roller coaster, too.
Well, and when you have the faith that it all belongs to God anyway, the Bible has so many, the New Testament has so many stories about where God wants us to sow our talents, and he wants to see us taking those risks and believing him to meet us. So that's so beautiful that he would walk into it with that kind of faith. That's so cool. So you both grew up around the family business, yet your path to leadership at the Casa Auto Group looks a little different. how did you each find your way back to Casa and into your current leadership roles? Justin, let's start with you.
Sure. So I kind of always knew from an early age, and like you mentioned, I spent a lot of time at the stores during summers, and high school ran, parts with one of my best friends. Had a lot of those moments where we'd go park the parts truck and just pass out because we were so tired from, events of the night before or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was just always in my blood, and I knew in high school that was the path. And so Dad made it real simple for me, go to college, graduate. And like I mentioned, I've known my wife since 5th grade, and so we kind of knew our path and what we were going to do. And so we moved to DC. I started selling cars. And like I said, I always had a passion and love for it, most importantly for people in general, and recognized pretty early, and I think Ronnie, he's not with us today, but he recognized this as well, that when he was going through seminary, that there was an opportunity to touch so many people's lives through this business.
Yeah.
Aside from the 900 plus employees that we have today and their families, we serve over 1,200 guests every single day on the sales side, over 10,000 guests a month on the service side, and so what better avenue to be able to touch people's lives? That was the component that I loved most about it, was just the people piece.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, and then, I went through all the steps and all the different positions and everything to get to the place that I am today. But yeah.
How about you, Luke?
And for me, being his little brother, I mean, with that passion and love for people that he lives with, it was such an opportunity for me to move into that. And I knew I wanted to be with him. I knew I wanted to get into the family business. So cool. And he had this great skill set and personality that was different than mine. And so I was looking for ways in which I could contribute to the family business and bring something a little bit different. And so for me, it was pursuing law school and becoming a member of the state bar and bringing that part to sort of the employee relationships, the manufacturer relationships, all the contracts that we do, and saying, hey, let me get involved, let me handle the legal stuff, let me handle the HR, insurance, and this thing that I enjoy, and get to be with you all day, every day, and have lunch and enjoy each other's company. So it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
That's so great. So I've got 2 teenage boys, and I have this vision of 3 brothers. Like, is there wrestling? Like, like Nerf gun wars? Does any of that happen? What does it look like?
100%. I was so excited to see Eddie Guerrero get the WWE recognition day in El Paso here. We grew up with WWF, now WWE, and we were always just jumping off the beds and dropping the elbows on each other, and it was a lot of activity, a lot of fun.
I'll bet.
Yeah, and so what that looks like today isn't necessarily us wrestling in the office anymore, but for very mindful conversations, like we've mentioned 100 times over now, just spending the amount of time that we do together and really focusing on staying unified. Like we said, unity is the number one most important word that we use every single day that we talk about. 100% of the time, we just bring it up over and over and over. And so, I mean, in our path and in our journey, there's been times where we've had to, look at it from the other person's perspective, step back and say, hey, I need to be humble in this situation. You might have some more wisdom or some better feedback in this scenario. And it's just being willing to be humble enough to say, you might be right in this place. Let's follow that path and see where that takes us and trust each other.
Yeah.
That's been a big lesson for us, is to change together, because we're not the same guys that we were in our teenage years or in our 20s or in our 30s. Now we're getting into our 40s, and we've changed a lot every one of those decades. We got married, we had kids, we moved through phases of careers at different times of the economy and marketplace. And because we have such an emphasis on unity, and we believe that the Spirit binds us and is making us all move towards one God, all those changes don't have to be threatening or take us apart. We're not changing in ways that divide us. We're changing in ways that help us to spur each other on to loving good deeds, and like iron sharpening iron.
Yeah, that's so great. I think it's so easy, particularly in business, to want to dig in, and your view is the right view, and it's just not productive. It doesn't go anywhere good when you're entrenched in your own viewpoint.
Yeah.
So That's really great.
100%.
It's very true. Dad would always tell us that you can manage through fear or through love, and both can be effective. And you can be right and you can force it, or you can include and consider and join with others. And he just said, we're going to do it the love way. And that's what's going to work for us.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So the last 7 to 9 years have been historic growth season for Casa. From your perspective, what's driven that expansion and what's made that expansion successful?
I'll let you start, Bob.
I'd like to start with saying Ronnie, our youngest brother, who is just brilliant and we love so much and has just a brain and a heart for multiplying things, for growing things. And he's
so cool.
a brilliant business person, and he has a huge tank for leading the team forward and finding opportunities. And so he has been instrumental in that growth. And the other big element, I would say, is timing. That Justin has always had the spirit of growth and has led the team through different seasons. And so the team was very ready and primed for that growth whenever Ronnie came in and those opportunities presented themselves. And so Justin had prepared the leadership, had invested a lot, like Dad had in the leadership team, so that we could honor what Grandpa left on his desk. Was anytime that you're going to grow, the first question you need to answer is, who is going to be the person that's going to be taking over there? And it can't just be somebody that you admire. It needs to be somebody you've worked with personally in this business. And so Justin did that really well. And when Ronnie came in and found the opportunities, it took off.
That's great. Justin?
Yeah, and that's, Luke took the words from my mouth. It was really, I think the business has come to a place where you're either going, we've always said it this way: if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
And our people were so well developed and positioned to step up into leadership roles that, we could lose them, or we can go find new opportunities for them.
Yeah.
And so having that stacked bench and having those individuals ready with Ronnie's, just like Luke mentioned, business mind set up perfectly for the timing of it.
Yeah, that's great. God's timing is so good.
So perfect.
So as you've grown, how do you protect the culture, that legacy, to maintain those the roots back to those core values?
It's the biggest challenge because we grew up seeing Grandpa, seeing Dad, and so did 300 of the employees around Ford and Nissan in El Paso, Texas. And so they watched the model and just knew the mission, and we all worked together as a family. And then it stretches over to the east side and then out to Las Cruces, Alamogordo, and now Prescott, Arizona. And none of these people know Clay Lowenfield or Wally Lowenfield. Yeah. And very few of them have had extensive periods of time with Justin, Luke, or Ronnie. Yeah. And so what we have seen is what Justin led us through, kind of the Chick-fil-A model, that it's important for us to know and be so closely linked with the general managers of these dealerships that they will embody these values like Wally did, like Clay did, and carry that spirit forward. And Dad called it discipleship management. So basically, you have influence on those closest to you, and you expect them to spread that to those closest to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, servant leadership, right? At the end of the day, if you have a servant heart, and that's what we look for first and foremost, then odds are you're going to lead pretty well. And so whenever you come into work every single day, you're looking for an opportunity to serve someone else. Yeah. And when you serve well, then odds are everything else is going to kind of work itself out. So that was definitely a staple as we looked at these leaders that we were expanding with, and we pour a tremendous amount of time and effort still into them, knowing that they're carrying that forward. Yeah. Because like Luke said, we can't be everywhere at all times. And I'll never forget to that Chick-fil-A experience, my dad saying to me, Justin, as you guys grow, if you want to grow at the level and the rate that you want to grow, you're not going to have the same result. It's not going to look like Casa Ford. It's not going to feel like home. And I said, well, Dad, Chick-fil-A's done it just by, 2 simple words, my pleasure. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And they've created that feel, that vibe just through 2 words. So, what does that look like for us? And so a lot of that's mirrored off of that Chick-fil-A model, and just going into the situation in your daily routine with a servant heart is so important for us.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
One other thing I'll share that I'm really proud of this year that we did as a team was to create a painting together.
Yes.
That was based on our vision, mission, and values, and we partnered with Unity Through Creativity, and 450 of us got together to paint our image of what makes Casa feel like home and what makes home feel like heaven, which was kind of the spirit of the mural. And it came out and became the Casa Singing Tree mural of trust, love, and community. And so it was a way for us to do something together creatively to engage all of the people that were getting to know Casa in new ways over these recent years, becoming Casa team members, and say, this is who we are, this is our heart, and who are you? Tell us about yourself. And people really opened up in beautiful ways.
That's so cool. Where can people go to see this mural? Is it physically somewhere here in El Paso?
Yeah.
Currently, it's at Casa Kia on
Okay.
George Dieter, and it's moving around. Let's see here. In January, it'll be on display at the Autoplex in Las Cruces for
Oh,
the
cool.
month, and in February in Alamogordo at the dealerships at Casa Toyota.
Okay, so a good excuse if you're already in the market for a new car, a good excuse to go visit Casa Kia right now.
Absolutely.
So that's really cool. What a beautiful way to bring your team together. Your family has never been shy about their faith, and it's really an inspiration to other business leaders. Can you share some of the practical ways today that you all are integrating your faith and work?
Yeah, so I mean, it's because it's been always such a foundational piece of who we are. It starts, like I said, just by having the Bible on our desk or whatever the case is. But my dad did a phenomenal job of leading men through Bible studies, specifically Dr. Robert Lewis, Winning at Work and Winning at Home. It was a 16-week course. He would do it every morning at 7 a.m. Once a year, and it's kind of what I grew up in, and getting to see him model what that looked like. And it was, whoever wanted to come. I mean, it wasn't forced or anything like that, but it was amazing to see these men come and participate and want to understand how to do better, not only in their jobs and professional lives, but how to win at home too.
Yeah.
And so we believe so much in that if you're taking care of your house, that you're going to do a great job taking care of the people that you're serving every single day. And so that was one way. There's been these moments, right? Whether it's the recession back in 08 or 09, COVID, whatever, these like monumental times too, where you can just see as a group, we kind of press in hard when those moments get tough. And of course, in our daily walk even, it's easier to turn to God whenever you feel like something's going wrong, not when everything's going great. But those moments definitely reveal the heart of our store, of our people, of who we are. And, when COVID hit, I started leading a Bible study daily on FaceTime and YouTube, and then they started filming it and showing it on Facebook, and then we had customers joining in and making comments, and it just became kind of this, like, it just kind of organically grew, and it was really beautiful. But that's just kind of at the end of the day. And we always open up in prayer when we start any meeting. It's just part of who we are, and we recognize, and we've told, our constituents and our employees, hey, look, if this is not part of who you are, your walk, that's okay. Just be mindful of everyone else that wants to participate and be a part of where we are and who we are. So,
yeah, I don't think that I've ever had a negative outcome from those faith-based activities that we've done. And so anybody out there that's wanting that's feeling that tug, please just take the step, take the leap of faith, have courage, because people really do respond positively when it's done with love and openness. And it's something that, like Justin said, he's such a prayer warrior, and so he leads us, and we depend upon that to have our spirit moving us forward.
Well, and that's coming from an attorney. So I think that our listeners can take a lot of comfort in that, right? Because I think that's one of the biggest fears is, am I going to get sued for praying with an employee? And so just seeing how even you, as someone who is a trained legal professional, is just willing and bold to live out your faith at work is so cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I believe it's you, Justin. We talk about the 323 podcast, and born out of Colossians 3:23, where we do everything as unto the Lord. And I think it was you who said you had that scripture on your desk.
I've got that plaque sitting right on my desk, at work. And that kind of stemmed even from just this whole idea that I've always leaned hard into the word of perseverance. We know that we're going to run into some hard times. I remember it just even as a salesperson, you go from, like Luke mentioned, my grandfather saying, hey, well, you could make this much money in a month, or you could lose this much money in a month. As a car salesperson, you can go from selling 20 cars one month to 10 and feeling the weight of that and stuff. And so it was always this idea that in the long run, as long as you persevere and really push into that, and you're doing it unto the Lord, and you're working, and trusting his path and his plan for your life, that at the end of the day, it's all going to work out. And we've seen that. And I strongly believe that there have been so many prayer warriors that have gone before us that we don't even know, that have prayed for Casa's organization, the Lowenfield family, that's inspiring in itself.
Yeah.
When I wake up and go on my morning walks, I'm thinking about who were those amazing people that lifted us up in that way, and those prayers are still being answered today.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah. The fervent prayer, the effective fervent prayer. No, I'm getting that scripture wrong, but it avails much, right?
Amen,
and for generations.
Yeah.
So we started out talking about this idea of third generation businesses and how few of them last through the third generation. Tell me, what is your dream for the fourth generation of Casa?
Wow. It's such a big question, and it's an evolving one because we all have kids. We've got teenagers as well, and Justin even has a son that's about to get into college and take that big step in life. And so we love what we are doing, and we want to provide that opportunity to the fourth generation to carry on and continue enjoying the fruit of all that that this has become. Basically, a way to communicate these values of generosity and community support and leadership and perseverance through the business, and letting the business serve to bring us closer instead of to break us up. And so I think it really hinges upon setting our minds on the things above and seeing this as part of the thing that God has put in our life to help us grow closer to him.
Yeah, and I think coming before him with open hands, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I would go on to say that, what's one of the most encouraging things for me is whenever I have an employee walk up to me and say, man, it was so awesome working for your grandfather, and then it was so amazing working for your dad. And now getting to serve you guys. And I just want to make it to the fourth generation, boss. Like they have that heart and spirit, and they want to be a part of that journey and a part of that story, which is super encouraging for us. And I mentioned to you that, I think that the only way that we were really going to get over that threshold of the third generation failing or being successful was being mindful of the growth that we needed to do for the fourth generation.
Yeah.
And so does that mean for us and in our personal lives, maybe not maximizing everything in the moment? Absolutely. It means sacrificing. Yeah. But that sacrifice is all with the goal in mind of having that fourth generation thrive and be set up in a place where they can then hopefully take this to another level.
Yeah.
And so that's like when you have that heart, and we've all agreed on that, then it makes it really easy to do.
Yeah.
Whenever you fall into the trap of, my dad used to always say it this way, WIFM, what's in it for me, right? That was his radio station. And he said, when you see those employees that are tuned into that place, that's not the right person that you want to be interacting with. Yeah. And so we've always talked about stay away from the WIFM radio station. Let's stay focused on some other good ones, some other great podcasts like yours that are going to expand our hearts and minds and keep us moving towards, at the end of the day, this is the other thing that my dad has always told us is he goes, there's nothing more important than when you get to heaven for God to be able to look at you and say, well done, my good and faithful servant, right? Yeah. And so every day we go to work with that heart and mind, with that generation, thinking about the fourth generation. We want to set them up with that same mentality. And I think that it's being mindful and respectful of all that wisdom that flows from those that have gone before us. And then how do you pass that into the next generation so they don't get stuck in that place? Because it is a little scary today with Facebook and Instagram and all the stuff that TikTok, I'm saying the old school stuff that we're used to watching. They don't even watch that stuff or tune into it, but that they can get distracted so fast and look at something and go, oh, well, that's how my life's supposed to look. And it's like, if you're not focused on that and you're focused on eternal things and you're focused on not tuning into yourself, but how can you serve others around you? I think that's how it makes it past this next gen.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, gentlemen, it has been a pleasure talking to you. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface, so I hope maybe you would consider coming back again in the future. For our listeners, how can they find out more about Casa Auto Group?
Visit us online at casaautogroup.com or come see us in person at any of the dealerships in El Paso, Las Cruces, Alamogordo, or Prescott, Arizona.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is awesome.
If God is writing a story in your workplace, we'd love to hear about it. You can share it with us by visiting 323podcast.com. That's the numbers 323podcast.com. We'll be back again next week with more great conversations on connecting your Sunday faith to your Monday life. Until then, may God bless your work this week. May He renew your strength, deepen your joy, and remind you that you're serving Him in all you do.